The African History Network and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. It's been another very busy day. Spent a lot of time editing video today, edited the video of yesterday's show also. So we want to welcome everybody to today's show. It is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. We are live. Welcome to the African History Network show. So on yesterday's show, we talked about Simone Biles dropping out of the Olympics team competition for gymnastics for women. We talked about that, and she cited needed to focus on her mental health, the pressures of being the star of the Olympics in Tokyo, 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. And then today, or early today, we got the news that she was also dropping out of the individual all-around competition where she won a gold medal in 2016. So she would not be defending her title. Okay. And we got more information out as well. There's an article from the Washington Post that talks about how she got what's called the twisties in gymnastics, the twisties. And this is when you are in the air during your maneuvers and you lose your bearing. You lose count on how many maneuvers you've done. You lose your spatial awareness, and that can be extremely, extremely dangerous. Okay. So we're going to give an update on what's going on here. Also, African-American women are coming to the defense of Simone Biles. So you have gymnasts who are coming to her defense and talking about their experiences dealing with mental health, dealing with the pressures of competing in the Olympics, and talking about losing their spatial awareness, losing their bearings when they're up in the air. You have African-American women specifically who are coming to Simone Biles' defense. There was a really good piece in the Washington Post from Candace Buckner for the Washington Post from July 27th. And I saw it yesterday. I wanted to talk about it on yesterday's show, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. This one is called "For Exceptional Black Women Like Simone Biles, Greatness is Never Enough." For exceptional Black women like Simone Biles, greatness is never enough. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Then so we'll give you an update on what's going on with that. Jemele Hill was on Deadline White House today with Nicole Wallace. We're going to share some of that interview. Jemele Hill is speaking out and defending Simone Biles. I defended her yesterday also. And you have to preserve your mental health. You have to, people who really understand the ramifications of this are applauding Simone Biles for putting her team ahead of her own personal accomplishments. And because if she had really faltered in the team competition, she could have cost the USA women's gymnastics team a medal. They won a silver medal instead of gold. The Russians took the gold medal. The U.S. takes the silver. But if she had really messed up, she could have cost them a medal, period. They could have walked away with no medal. Okay, so she really did the right thing. Now, of course, you have conservatives. You got dumbass Jason Whitlock, fat ass Jason Whitlock on Fox Sports, running his mouth and speaking negatively about her. Only sit up Jason Whitlock does is when he sits up in the bed in the morning. You got white conservatives attacking her. You got Piers Morgan, things like this. A lot of these people are jealous. Okay, especially a lot of these white male conservatives. A lot of them are jealous, and they're just running their mouths. So it is what it is, and you're going to have. They're going to rightfully get backlash. They're going to rightfully get backlash from social media. Now, Simone Biles has posted on Facebook today, because I follow her on Facebook. So she posted on Facebook today. Let's go to that Facebook post. She was thanking everybody for the support. Okay. I'm not sure if she thanked her haters. But she was thanking everybody for the support. So this is Simone Biles on Facebook, and let's see, okay, we've got it up here. She said, so this is from July 28th. She said the amount of love and support, let's zoom in on this. She said the amount of love and support I've received has made me realize I'm more than my accomplishments and gymnastics, which I never truly believed before. The amount of love and support I've received has made me realize I'm more than my accomplishments and gymnastics, which I never truly believed before. Okay, so it's already got 97,000 likes. You see my comment here. I liked it as well. Also shared it on our Facebook page, the African History Network, where we have 1 million followers. I said, we love you, Simone Biles. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, especially these dumbass Republicans running around when it greatest of all time, hashtag Olympics, hashtag Black Girl Magic, hashtag Simone Biles. So we have that. Okay. And if we go over, let's look at our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. Let's see what's going on there. I posted, let me see. Can we look at that post? Posted that, and okay, here's right here. Okay. Yeah, we got the post right here as well. So you can check out the post here on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, the African History Network, also right here. All right. So we'll talk about Simone Biles, give you an update on what's going on there. And then we'll discuss briefly. You can give us a call if you have a question or comment, especially African-American women. For exceptional Black women like Simone Biles, greatness is never enough. And I talked about this a little bit on yesterday's show, because there was an article from The Undefeated that we discussed. And I re-aired our Tuesday show. That's re-airing on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. So go back and watch that. But there was an article that dealt with when Black women are punished for being the best. Okay. Black women are punished for being the best. And let me see if we can pull this up. Yeah, it's from The Undefeated. Okay. So go back and watch yesterday's show, our Tuesday, February 27th show. And I discussed this article and some other things. And we also dealing with discrimination against body type. She gets criticized for her body type. She has a naturally muscular build. She's feminine, but she works out. Most of the people who are criticizing her don't work out, lazy, fat, only sit up they do each day is sitting up in the bed in the morning. Most of them can't even tumble out of bed. So you had these criticisms. Remember, Michelle Obama came under criticisms from fat asses like Rush Limbaugh. Okay, I know Rush Limbaugh's dead. He ain't supposed to speak negatively about the dead. Well, he shouldn't have spoken negatively about First Lady Michelle Obama. See, a lot of these people, I have no respect for them, whether they're living or dead. I just really don't. Because you reap what you sow. That's karma coming back on you. I have no respect for them. Like Herman Cain. Herman Cain passed away from coronavirus, running around chasing these white people with no mask, running around chasing after Trump and these white Republicans. And he died of COVID, and they didn't even mention his name. When they had the Republican National Convention, they didn't even mention his name, that he passed away from COVID. Chasing them around. So, you know, you brought that on yourself. So we'll discuss that. I'll give you an update on Simone Biles. Then there's a very, very important march that's going on right now, continuing the protest for the Voting Rights Act. Okay, continuing to protest for a new Voting Rights Act, the For the People Act, and it's being led by Reverend William Barber III of the Poor People's Campaign. And Reverend William Barber III is a modern day Martin Luther King Jr. This is a 27-mile march that's taking place in Texas. 27-mile march, 7 days. It's taking place in Texas. And this is to draw attention to the need for the People Act. Also, Beto O'Rourke, former member of the House of Representatives for Texas, is involved in this and is leading the march as well. But the Reverend William Barber III and former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke have launched a 4-day, 27-mile march in Texas against voter suppression, calling on Congress to end the filibuster and pass voting rights legislation, calling on Congress to end the filibuster and pass voting rights legislation. Reverend William Barber III, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, said at a press conference on Tuesday, July 27th, he said, "We are here to start this march for our democracy. We are here to start this march for our democracy." Now, this is a multi-day march. It's a 4-day march from Georgetown, Texas to Austin, Texas. Reverend William Barber III condemned Texas Republicans' efforts to pass legislation restricting voting rights, calling such bills, quote, "the canary in the mine," end quote, the canary in the mine, and noting how Republicans in state legislatures across the country are pushing hundreds of bills to suppress the vote. Okay, so we'll talk about this as well. Now, Roland Martin is broadcasting from Texas for this march, and I'm going to share an excerpt of an interview that Roland did with Reverend William Barber III on location in Texas at this march. He did this on Tuesday, July 27th. And as I've said before, and I'm a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered every Friday. I'll be back on this Friday. As I've said before, we have to expand this conversation beyond just African Americans. It's not just African Americans who are hurt by these voter suppression bills. Now, we know there are about 389 bills in 48 state legislatures that are being pushed. TheHill.com is reporting, they're picking up the reporting from the Brennan Center for Justice that 1/3 of states, or basically 1 in 3 states, have passed restrictive voting laws this year. 1 in 3 states have passed restrictive voting laws this year. Now, we know that 18 states have passed restrictive voting bills. 18 states have passed 30 restrictive voting bills. There's a good piece from TheHill.com on this that we'll discuss on today's show as well. And the reason why this is so important is because politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So politics impacts every aspect of our life, from the water we drink to the air we breathe, to the food we eat, to the economy, to employment. And for those who preach economic empowerment, in my degrees in business administration with a major in marketing, I understand this better than most people who talk about economic empowerment. Your economic empowerment largely depends upon a healthy economy and people having jobs to spend with your Black-owned business. So we need to put people in office who will pass bills that protect the economy and will help African-American owned businesses. So we're going to deal with all of this on the other side of the break, and we'll give you an update on our 10-week online course, a new 10-week online course, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement, 1865 to 1968. It's a 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, to register for that online course. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose television network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose television network. Subscribe now.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. If you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. All right. So right before the break, I was talking about the topics for today's show, and we're going to jump into give you an update of what's going on with Simone Biles. I just shared the Facebook post she just did late today, and we'll give you an update on what's going on with her and dropping out of the individual all-around competition on Thursday. Be sure to register for my new 10-week online course, From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Next class is Saturday, July 31st, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information right on the homepage of the website. This is a 10-week online course. Each class will go through and analyze a 10-year period of history starting in 1865 with 40 Acres and a Mule, Special Field Order number 15, 40 Acres and a Mule, the end of the Civil War. We'll go into Reconstruction era. So this Saturday, we'll look at the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, and see what happened to African Americans, what gains we made, and then see how a lot of those gains were wiped out. Click on register here on the next page, click on enroll. And as soon as you register, you can start watching class. You can watch the class we just did this past Saturday, and then you'll be ready for class coming up this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again. All right. We're going to go to clip one here in just a minute, Shakita. Okay. So if we look at, I want to look at this article here from NBC News. And we got the word this morning that she was dropping out of the all-around individual. Simone Biles to miss individual all-around final at Tokyo Olympics. She will continue to be evaluated daily to determine whether or not to participate in next week's individual event finals. USA Gymnastics said, they put out that statement today. Now, Simone Biles will not defend her all-around gold medal. USA Gymnastics confirmed Wednesday, July 28th. The 24-year-old superstar has pulled out of the individual competition at the Tokyo Olympics to focus on her mental health, her team said. And let me just say this also. The criticism, I guarantee you, the pressure, we see the criticism regarding her in the media. Okay. I guarantee you the criticism from her perspective, the criticism is much greater than what we see in the media. Okay. Directed towards her, attacking her on social media, all this stuff. Okay. So she's under tremendous pressure. The other thing that many African-American women are bringing up is that she is also a sexual assault. She is also a sexual assault survivor, and she was a sexual assault survivor of Larry Nassar, who's in prison right now. Okay, who's a former team doctor for many of the gymnasts. So she's dealing with the weight of sexual assault, being a survivor of sexual assault. She's also dealing with the weight of attacks on her body type and all different types of things like this. So the 24-year-old superstar has pulled out of the individual competition at the Tokyo Olympics to focus on her mental health, her team said. Quote, Simone will continue to be evaluated daily to determine whether or not to participate in next week's individual event finals, USA Gymnastics said in a statement. We wholeheartedly support Simone's decision and applaud her bravery in prioritizing her well-being. Her courage shows yet again why she is a role model for so many. Her courage shows yet again why she is a role model for so many. Now, Jade Carey, who had the 9th highest score in qualifications, will now take Simone Biles' place in the all-around competition. A 4-time Olympic gold medalist, Simone Biles shocked the Olympic world Tuesday, July 27th, when she suddenly withdrew during the team gymnastics final. Now, Biles said the emotional toll of the Tokyo Games, not a physical injury, prompted her exit. Okay. At first, the statement was put out that it was a physical injury, but she did an interview with Hoda of NBC's Today Show. We shared that interview with you on yesterday's show. And she said, quote, physically, I feel good. She told, she said in the interview, emotionally, that kind of varies on the time and moment. Coming here to the Olympics and being the head star of the Olympics, coming here to the Olympics and being the head star of the Olympics is not an easy feat. So we're just trying to take it one day at a time. We'll see, end quote. Now, Olympic swimming legend Michael Phelps has been very candid in the past about his struggles with depression. And he said on Wednesday that he knows how Simone Biles feels. Michael Phelps said, we carry a lot of things, a lot of weight on our shoulders. He said in the interview with NBC sportscaster Mike Tirico. And he said, it's challenging, especially when we have the lights on us and all of these expectations that are being thrown on top of us. OK, and it's even worse when you have people that don't even work out. OK, people that the only sit up they do each day is sitting up in the bed, and some of them can barely do that. And then they want to talk about your Olympic career, you know, and what you should do, and you know, you're letting down your team and all different types of things like this. And they've never been in that position before. Don't compete in sports, never competed in the Olympics, and then they want to criticize. Okay, so that's why you block some of these dumbasses. All right, now later in a meeting with NBC reporters, two of Simone Biles' teammates, Grace McCallum and Jordan Childs is African American, voiced support for their teammate and said they're soldiering on. They are soldiering on. Now, Jordan Childs said it's been a crazy, crazy ride, noting that they've had to train through a pandemic, and they're competing at venues where there's nobody cheering them on because they're in a state of emergency in Tokyo and no fans are allowed in the stands. And in some cases, many of them are away from their family, where normally many of their family members would be with them, but in some cases they're away from their family as well. So like when you watch it on NBC, because I've been watching the Olympics every day, on NBC, they show them and their families are at home and they're showing their families through Skype or FaceTime, whatever it is. And they're responding to their families and things like this. And their families are cheering them on from the US. So they're dealing with that as well. Asked how she's coping with the stress, Jordan Childs answered online shopping. Okay, don't go into debt now. She said, I'm a sneakerhead, she said. Okay. All right. So check out this piece from NBC News. Simone Biles to Miss Individual All-Around Final at Tokyo Olympics. She will continue to be evaluated daily to determine whether or not to participate in next week's individual events, USA Gymnastics said. We're going to go to clip 1 here in just a second, Shakita. I want to show the Facebook post from Simone Biles again. So it appears she, she's monitoring her mental health. The other thing is, I'm sure she's getting negative racial feedback also. She's probably experiencing that as well. I hear she's had to block a lot of people on social media, a lot of crazy people on social media. So you have that component also. And white supremacy will make you go crazy. White supremacy will make you go crazy. All you got to do is look at the insurrectionists January 6th. Many of them went crazy. Now they're being prosecuted and they're wondering, what did I do? Simone Biles posted July 28th, Wednesday, July 28th. She said, the amount of love and support I've received has made me realize I'm more than my accomplishments in gymnastics, which I never truly believed before. I am more than my accomplishments and gymnastics I've never truly believed before. Okay. And I posted as well a response because I follow her on Facebook. Said, we love you, Simone Biles. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. She's already the greatest. Okay. So now we're going to go to clip 1 here, Shakita. On a Deadline White House today on MSNBC, Detroit's own Jemele Hill spoke with Nicole Wallace about Simone Biles. Jemele Hill, quote, Simone Biles has nothing to prove to you. Simone Biles has nothing to prove to you. Now, contributing writer for The Atlantic and host of the podcast, Jemele Hill is unbothered. Jemele Hill and Righteous Media president Paul Rieckhoff discussed Simone Biles' brave choice to step away from the Olympics and why some are angry. Some are a lot of white men. A lot of them, you can tell they can't get a date. And, a lot of them are basket cases. They're just crying, want attention or something like that. You're going to learn, don't mess with black women. That's what you're going to learn, don't mess with black women. But some are angry that she is taking a pause from the games. Okay, let's go to this clip. Take the mute off. Take it off mute. Clip number 1.
American icon, Olympic gymnast Simone Biles has now withdrawn from the individual all-around competition after leaving midway through yesterday's team final. The fact that she may or may not compete in next week's events is right now of secondary importance. Instead, the focus is on her well-being. She says physically she is fine, but emotionally and mentally it is not the same story. So bravely, she's taking a step back. The reaction back home has been largely positive, loving, in fact, with the exception of what we'll call the usual suspects. People mostly on social media who describe themselves as patriots, but who've also in recent days and weeks attacked U.S. military leaders, American police, scientists, vaccines, all that stuff, the good stuff. Joining our conversation, Jemele Hill, contributing writer to The Atlantic and host of the Jemele Hill is Unbothered podcast on Spotify. Also joining us, Paul Rieckhoff, founder of the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, president of Righteous Media, and the host of the Independent Americans podcast. You follow him on Twitter. He's wearing flip-flops. So I have to tell you guys what I really thought when I saw this. My first thought was just this ache for this jewel. She's one of the world's preeminent athletes. She's exquisite. And I found it soul crushing to see a little pocket of, doughy white, right-leaning losers who probably have a hard time getting dates attack her. And I think if we want to know the answer to the question, how effed up is our country, just look at the reaction to what happened this week in Tokyo. with Simone Biles? You first, Jamal.
Well, I agree with you. Simone Biles is extraordinary, and I think what we forget is what she has been through on a personal level. She's the only athlete who's competing, or only gymnast that's competing in these Olympics that was victimized by Larry Nassar. And the only reason that she decided to compete in this Olympics is because, you know, there's a new crop of gymnasts. I think she takes her responsibility as an ambassador very seriously. So to think that some part of that would not weigh in on her or weigh on her is really, it's asking a lot. And so in addition to the fact that Simone Biles essentially at this point, the greatest gymnast ever. Don't ask me, don't debate me, she is. And she has done things so extraordinary that they can't even really figure out how to score her. That's how good that she is. So to act as if Simone Biles owed us anything, it's crazy. This woman has given this sport everything. Even when the powers that be enabled somebody to violate her, she still gave it her all. So for people to question how mentally tough she is, I find that to be disgusting.
Oh, I wanted to talk to you about this as well, and I want to read you a tweet from Martin Dempsey that caught my eye last night. Where there's no struggle, there's no strength. Oprah Winfrey, putting team before self. Simone Biles showed real strength today. Hope to see her back soon, but in the meantime, by her example, she reminds us that character matters. Saw several tweets calling Simone Biles weak. Compared to who? That would be laughable, except that it's intended to be hurtful. It's hard to get to the top and even harder to stay there. We should expect no more of our heroes than we do of ourselves, our best. This vein has been tapped, where defending our heroes now falls to some of our military leaders who are also under attack by some of the same characters. Explain.
Well, there are some parallels there, but when you talk about Simone Biles, she is a true American hero. She's a true patriot. She's a true badass. I mean, she's an inspiration to people around the world, not just because of what she does in the Olympics, but what she does, you know, in the community and as an example and as a leader. She's what you want young men and women to be. She's what we want young men in America to be, young men and women in America to be. This is what right looks like. And, you know, I don't like to feed the trolls. I don't want to talk about the haters and the people who want to drag her down. But there is a learning lesson here, because I teach little kids. And I coach little kids. I coach t-ball. I coach flag football. And they are taught to be teammates, to put the team above themselves. And if they're hurt, to step off, because that's for the betterment of the team. So she's showing tremendous strength there. And to attack her is not just despicable, it's dangerous, because it'll discourage other people from coming forward and seeking mental health support, from saying that they're having problems. Showing that you need help is a sign of strength. And that's the really important moment here. So her impact in this moment may be even greater than the impact she's had in the Olympics, because she's undoubtedly saving lives. She's encouraging other people to come forward, no matter what these haters on cable news or in Congress have to say.
Let me follow up with you, Paul, because there is a parallel. I remember being so haunted by the book, Thank You for Your Service, about some of the wounds you cannot see from Iraq and Afghanistan being the hardest for veterans to sort of deal with and come home with, PTSD and psychological damage. And I wonder what what she's sort of tapped in terms of making a mental health setback as grave as some physical injury that we could all see.
Well, mental health is total health. And we've been trying to have this conversation in America for over 20 years. For 15 years, I've been working in the veteran space, trying to change the dialogue around mental health support, trying to explain post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide, and we've made tremendous progress. But let's imagine this criticism focused on someone different. Imagine if it was focused on a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret who said, you know what, I'm going in to get bin Laden, but I'm not feeling all right now. I'm not feeling ready for the mission, so I'm going to take myself out of the mission. Who would call that person a coward? Who would criticize that person? I hope no one, but in this new normal, that man or woman would probably be under attack too. But there's an example that Simone Biles is setting, and that many veterans have set, that I hope will cascade down across our country, and especially to young people. If you need help, reach out. If you need help, you will be supported. There's help out there, and you're not alone. That's the message. Ignore the haters, focus on your total health, and you'll be stronger for it.
Jamel, I want your thoughts on that, but I want to put out there a brilliant Jamel quote here and get you to expand on this as well. So two-parter for you. You said this back in June. As impressive as her consistent dominance is, what Biles has come to mean to Black culture, to women, and especially to Black women, is bigger than her all-out assault on the record books. Her excellence is an act of resistance. She is openly mocking expectations about what she should or shouldn't do. Through her performances, she is creating a previously inconceivable new standard for her sport.
Well, the reason that I wrote that, Nicole, was just because the one thing that I loved about Simone Biles and still love about Simone Biles and still love about her is she's so unapologetic about her greatness and her dominance. This is a very self-aware woman, and that's why I'm not surprised that she was self-aware enough to know that she didn't have it, because she knows however grand she has made it be, she knows what that looks like. And anybody who follows gymnastics knows that given what they're doing with their bodies and at such a high rate of speed and such a dangerous degree of difficulty, especially her, who has 4 moves named after her, that the slightest bit of being off, of not being completely mentally there, not being focused enough, and she could wind up seriously hurt. And it was a complete act of selflessness for her to take herself out of competition so that she wouldn't hurt the rest of her American teammates. And a lot of people don't seem to get that. Again, Simone Biles has nothing to prove to you, especially not to people who certainly have never exhibited any level of the same mental fortitude and strength that she has. She has already proven to be one of the best athletes of all time. She's already the greatest gymnast ever. So to me, she understood the assignment, accomplished the mission, and if she just she needed a mental break, she knows herself better than we do. And so I think this is a time for people to just fall back and support her. I guarantee you, Nicole, the people criticizing Simone Biles, calling her mentally weak, have never come close to being as good at their job as Simone Biles is at hers.
Okay, let's pause it right there. All right, thanks, Shakita. Okay, so that is from Deadline White House, Nicole Wallace, MSNBC, speaking with Detroit's own Jemele Hill, sports writer Jemele Hill, contributor writer for The Atlantic and host of the podcast Jemele Hill is Unbothered. And also you heard Righteous Media President Paul Rykoff. That's at msnbc.com, Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Jemele Hill, Simone Biles has nothing to prove to you. Now, I want to go to this next, I want to go to this other article. We're going to go to clip 2 in just a second here. Just a minute here, Shakita. Washington Post has an article. Other outlets are reporting this as well. This is from an interview with Simone Biles talking about what happened Tuesday, why she dropped out, what happened when she was in the air. Simone Biles said she got the twisties, quote unquote, the twisties. Gymnasts immediately understood. Now, I saw an interview today with Dominique Dawes, and I remember Dominique Dawes. You know, I watched the Summer Olympics. Now, I ain't too much into the Winter Olympics, but you know, the Summer Olympics I definitely watched. I remember Dominique Dawes in the Summer Olympics years ago, and she talked about the twisties as well. Now, she said back then they didn't call it the twisties, but it's when you are spinning in the air and you lose your bearings, you lose your spatial awareness, and you can become seriously injured if you land the wrong way. So what happened was when Simone Biles, if we look at this piece here, when Simone Biles pushed off the vaulting table on Tuesday, she entered that terrifying world of uncertainty, In the Olympic team final, Simone Biles planned to perform a 2.5 twisting vault, but her mind chose to stall after just 1.5 twists. Now, she's up in the air. Her mind chose to stall after just 1.5 twists. Simone Biles said, I had no idea no idea where I was in the air. She said, I could have hurt myself. She's absolutely correct. She could have been seriously injured. Now, Simone Biles, who subsequently withdrew from the team competition and then from the all-around final a day later, described what went wrong during that vault as, quote, having a little bit of the twisties, Now, the cute sounding term, well known in the gymnastics community, describes a frightening predicament. When gymnasts have the twisties, they lose control of their bodies as they spin through the air. Sometimes they twist when they had not planned to. Other times they stop midway through, as Biles did. And after experiencing the twisties once, it's very difficult to forget. Instinct gets replaced by thought. Thought quickly leads to worry. Worry is difficult to escape. So Shawn Melton, a former elite gymnast who dealt with the twisties throughout his career, said simply, your life is in danger when you're doing gymnastics. Your life is in danger when doing gymnastics. Now, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to go to the YMCA and I used to take gymnastics class. Okay. Now, I never did backflips, but we did tumbling and things like that. Right. So I always liked gymnastics because I liked gymnastics as a kid. We did the rings. I used to do the pin on the rings, all different types of things like this. I didn't work my way up to the horse. I wanted to do that, but I used to do the rings. Okay. When I was a kid, and we used to do, the first class that you take is like tumbling. So you learn to tumble on the mat and things like that. And you do the somersaults and you learn cartwheels. I didn't get to the point of doing backflips, but I did, do the rings. So, Shawn Melton said, and then when you add this unknown of not being able to control your body while doing these extremely dangerous skills, it adds an extreme level of stress. And it's terrifying, honestly, because you have no idea what is going to happen. Now, the twisties are essentially like the yips in other sports, but in gymnastics, the phenomenon affects the athletes when they're in the air. So the mind-body disconnect can be dangerous, even for someone of Simone Biles' caliber. All right, now, let's see, let me scroll down right here. When Simone Biles mentioned that she had struggled with the twisties, former gymnasts flooded social media with empathy. Some detailed injuries they suffered after getting lost midway through a skill, and when they're performing a skill midway in the air. One person called the twisties the, quote, the scariest, most uncontrollable sensation. Now, 1988 Olympian Missy Marlowe tweeted, quote, it's like a non-serious stroke. All right. So check out the rest of this piece here from the Washington Post. Simone Biles said she got the twisties. Gymnasts immediately understood. Then we have this other piece here from the Washington Post. This is a really good piece from Candace Buckner. And we'll probably talk about this some more tomorrow because we're running out of time here. And I want to spend a good amount of time on this because this is extremely important as well. The most disrespected woman in America is the African-American woman. African-American woman is also undervalued, but persecuted more so when you are exceptional. And that goes back to the article from The Undefeated that we talked about yesterday, which deals with when Black women are punished for being the best. And it talks about Simone Biles, when black women are punished for being the best, from July 23rd, 2021 by Denny Michelle Norris. Read this article here, because there are two moves that Simone Biles does that the Olympics Committee, the Gymnast Olympics Committee banned because they're so dangerous. But she's the only one that can do them. She's the only one that can do them. So because other athletes are not as good as she is to do the move, they banned them. All right. So my thing is, well, if you're not as good as she is to do the moves, then maybe you shouldn't do the moves, or maybe you just shouldn't compete. But they penalize Simone Biles by banning these two moves that only she can do. So read this article here. But if we look at this one here briefly from Candace Buckner, and today Tiffany Cross is sitting in for Joanne Reed on the readout, and she talked about this piece as well. But Candace Buckner says, whenever Simone Biles pulls on her leotard, it is as though she's tightening a cape around her neck. She's the hero tasked with saving a sullied sport. Embodying, because see, gymnastics took a hit because of Larry Nassar. See, the whole gymnastics came under a cloud. Not the women in gymnastics, but the women in gymnastics, not many of them, not being protected from Larry Nassar after they were complaining. See, this is so Simone Biles is looked at as like the savior of gymnastics. She's the hero tasked with even though she was victimized by Larry Nassar. She's the hero tasked with saving a sullied sport, embodying some trite belief in American dominance, and also carrying a gender and an entire race. That's a heavy cape, and it chokes. That's a heavy cape, and it chokes. But it's one that exceptional black women and women of color are told to wear, because simply being great isn't good enough. Simply being great isn't good enough. They have to be superlative as well as trailblazers. They have to be avatars or progress and change, and also fulfill a deeper societal responsibility as role models who break glass ceilings while breaking records. But here's the thing. It's okay for Simone Biles just to be amazing. Let her greatness stand on its own. We can be wild and celebrate her without also expecting her to single-handedly revive gymnastics after a sexual abuse scandal. See, this is what I'm talking about. Let her greatness stand on its own. We can be wild and celebrate her without also expecting her to single-handedly revive gymnastics after a sexual abuse scandal, while also leading little black girls to balance beams all over the nation. It was beautiful to watch Sanisa Lee to compete for say gracefully go ham on the uneven bars after Simone Biles bowed out of competition. And just as inspiring to witness Jordan Childs, another African-American woman on the squad, another black woman on the squad, step in for Simone Biles and step up into events. If they woke up in time Tuesday morning, little girls of color saw two stars performing on the world stage. That representation goes a long way when fueling a dream. Years ago, this happened for the sport's biggest star. Now, Simone Biles, during a 2020 promotional event for the Olympics, said during a 2020 promotional event, talked about Gabby Douglas. She said, I remember when Gabby Douglas won, I was like, oh my gosh, if she can do it, then I can do it. Okay, we're out of time here on 910 AM Superstation WFDF. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting a few more minutes and talk about Reverend William Barber III and the March for the Voting Rights Act. You can support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right now, it's correct wrong behaviors. Not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. All right, how's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for my new 10-week online course. This meets on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Each class will go through and analyze an approximately 10-year period of time of history. Starting in 1865, we'll look at 40 Acres and the Mule, Special Field Order number 15. We'll look at Juneteenth, assassination of Lincoln, end of the Civil War, April 9th, 1865, 13th Amendment, December 6, 1865. And then we'll go through the Reconstruction era. We'll look at Jim Crow. We'll look at the late 1800s. We'll look at the Mississippi State Constitution, 1890, Texas State Constitution, 1876. We'll look at, after the Reconstruction ends, the efforts of these southern states to take back power from African Americans. We know there are about 2,000 African American elected officials that were elected during the Reconstruction era. And we're going to see a lot of these gains reversed. We're going to see, even though we acquire land, and the height of economic empowerment for African Americans is probably around 1920, when we acquired close to 20 million acres of land, but we're going to see how we lost that also. We'll look at World War I, World War II. We'll look at the Civil Rights Movement, Black Power movement, up to the assassination of Dr. King, to understand what happened after slavery ended and how we got to where we are today, so we could better understand where we need to go from here. Okay, so at the class is regularly $130, on sale $80. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. Soon as click on register here, it takes you to the next page. Click on enroll. As soon as you enroll, you can watch the class we just did this past Saturday. There's also some bonus content as well that you can watch. Click right here on enroll. There's bonus content you can watch also. We have the first 3 classes of the other online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That online class, we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. And when you register for this new online course, you will also get archive classes, the first 3 classes of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understand the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. If you want to register for the that other 10-week online course, we have one that's on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Understand the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Click right here on register here. Takes you to the next page. Enroll there also. And as soon as you register, you can watch the archive content. You can join us in class on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. All right, let's go back to, I'm going to go back here to the piece here from Candace Buckner for the Washington Post. For exceptional Black women like Simone Biles, greatness is never enough. And this also deals with the whole myth of the Black superwoman and, the strong Black woman, because other races of women don't have to talk about being strong white women or strong Asian women or things like this. So the strong Black woman, and then you have to be able to do everything for yourself. You can't ask for help. You can't say you're overwhelmed. You look on negatively if you talk about mental health challenges, etc. So Simone Biles, during a promotional event in 2020, said, "I remember when Gabby Douglas won, I was like, oh my gosh, if she can do it, then I can do it." Okay. Now we know Gabby Douglas competed in the Olympics 2012, 2016. I checked, I did some research. She stopped training after the 2016 Olympics. I don't think she has officially retired when I was looking at it like a couple of weeks ago, but she stopped, Gabby Douglas stopped training after the 2016 Olympics. But I remember Gabby Douglas came under attack because people were talking about her hair. You know, she's doing her gymnastics routines and she has her hair pulled back in the bun. You know, she's not trying to be on the cover of Essence. You know, not when she's spinning through the air. Okay, not when she's spinning through the air, but she's you know, people were talking about her hair. Okay, and their hair, and she needs to, you know, she should have her hair done, things like this. It's like, look, she's up here doing like death-defying stunts. Okay, she's not focused on that. All right, now Simone Biles embodies the dream more than any other hero on the Olympic stage. She's supposed to be some sort of Moses, leading girls who look like her to the promised land, where they will be free to do your Shinko double pikes without the fear of someone mispronouncing their names or trying to touch their natural hair. Okay, so it's a lot of pressure. It's noble, and she's tried to hoist that pressure on her 4'8" frame. She's only 4'8" frame all by herself, but it's also harmful and unfair. It's also harmful and unfair. All right, let me look at my notes here. Make sure I got through all the points that I wanted. Okay, we go here. So Candace talks about Kitty Ledecky, who's a white female swimmer. She talks about Kitty Ledecky, and she talks about Megan Rapinoe as well. And she said that, where is it here? She said Ledecky and the likes of Megan Rapinoe are models for their sports, but they're not, however, cast as messiahs of their sports. They're not cast as messiahs of their sports. Simone Biles posted on Instagram a day before the team finals and said, I truly do feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. I truly do feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders at times. She posted this on Instagram. I follow her on Instagram also. Now, a different kind of pressure follows Black women who achieve in traditionally white spaces. A different kind of pressure follows Black women who achieve in traditionally white spaces. If they've had a realist for a mother since childhood, they've heard the refrain that they've got to work twice as hard to get half as much. They've got to work twice as hard to get half as much. And I heard that from my parents also. So, you know, I've heard that from my parents. Now, do children growing up today, are they taught that by their parents? Teenagers, what have you? Are they taught that by their parents? They have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And if they spent 2 seconds in America, then they know that mama was right. Now, some feel that excelling is the only way to get a measure of respect. Some feel that excelling is the only way to get a measure of respect. Overachieving, not just for themselves, but so that the path is easier for the next Black woman who may follow their footsteps. Okay, so read the rest of this piece here from the Washington Post by Candace Buckner. This is from July 27th, 2021. For exceptional Black women like Simone Biles, greatness is never enough. All right. Okay, so check that out also. I'm going to we're going to look at this information here dealing about the 27-mile march that is taking place in Texas. I'm going to go to this interview here with also Reverend William Barber III that Roland Martin did, and also Reverend William Barber II, I should say. Also Reverend William Barber and Beto O'Rourke. They were on MSNBC today. That was on the Readout. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week. So let's keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. Just because this is a lot of work. Or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Now, this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN Show, SHOW. $ the AHN Show, SHOW. It shows my picture there and shows my name, Michael. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. All right, so I've already reported them to Cash App. Okay, now I want to go to this next article here. I want to go to this next topic here. So I saw an article from Huffington Post, and then also Sybil Wilkes, who's on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Used to co-host the Tom Joyner Morning Show for years. Sybil Wilkes has a 5 things you should know each day dealing with news. So I follow Sybil also, and she had some information on this. Activists march for passage of voting laws and end to filibuster. Activists march for passage of voting laws and end to filibuster. Then we have a article here from the Huffington Post, which deals with this 27-mile march to draw attention to the need for the passing of the Voting Rights Act. The For the People Act, I should say. Now, John Lewis wrote the first 300 pages of the For the People Act. And let me let this load up here. Okay. So Reverend William Barber, Beto O'Rourke launched 4-day march for voting rights in Texas. Reverend William Barber, Poor People's Campaign, is leading a 27-mile multi-day march against voter suppression, urging Congress to take action on voting rights, Now, the Reverend William Barber II and former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke launched a 4-day, 27-mile march in Texas against voter suppression, calling on Congress to end the filibuster and pass voting rights legislation. Reverend Barber, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, said at a press conference on Tuesday, July 27th, he said, "We are here to start this march for our democracy. We are here to start this march for our democracy." Now, the march is going to go from Georgetown, Texas to Austin, Texas. Reverend William Barber condemned Texas Texas Republicans, I should say. He condemned their efforts to pass legislation restricting voting rights, calling such bills the canary in the mine, and noting how Republicans in state legislatures across the country are pushing hundreds of bills to suppress the vote. Now, he said, Beto O'Rourke said Texas is the hardest state in the nation in which to vote. Texas is the hardest state in the nation in which to vote. Republicans have introduced legislation that would make it even harder, Beto O'Rourke said on Tuesday. Now, Reverend William Barber urged the U.S. Senate to end the filibuster and pass the For the People Act. The latter bill the For the People Act would override much of Republicans' state level efforts by mandating states implement measures like early voting, no excuse absentee ballots, and automatic same day registration. During what they describe as a Selma to Montgomery style march for democracy, activists will pause at 3 churches and a Muslim community center and end with a rally at the Texas State Capitol on Saturday. In order to march, Reverend Barber said people will need to show proof that they are vaccinated against COVID-19 and wear masks. Now, here's a tweet from Reverend William Barber. He says that our moral march to Austin this week is about showing the nation that Black, white, brown, Native, Asian, young, old, poor, and low wealth people in Texas are standing together to demand Democrats who hold Senate majority take action to enact policies they ran on. Take action to enact policies they ran on. This tweet is from July 27th, 2021. Now, earlier this month, more than 50 Democratic lawmakers left Texas to block a vote on the GOP-led legislation that would create harsher voter ID requirements. That's in Texas, ban 24-hour and drive-through voting, and stop election officials from sending voters unsolicited absentee ballots. The Texas Democrats have been in Washington, D.C., urging Congress to pass the For the People Act, but the sweeping bill will be tough to pass, with Democrats holding only a slim majority in the Senate, Republicans opposing it, and key Senate Democrats refusing to back filibuster reform, like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Voter suppression efforts disproportionately disenfranchise Latino and low-income voters. So read this piece here from the Washington Post. Reverend Barber, Beto O'Rourke launched 4-day march for voting rights in Texas. Okay, this is from July 27th. Okay, so check that out from Huffington Post. Yeah, I want to go to this. I want to go to this interview here from Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now, TheHill.com also had a good article, and a lot of people have been talking about this information here coming from the Brennan Center for Justice. This deals with 1 out of 3, basically 1/3 of states have passed restrictive voting laws. Okay, 1/3 of states have passed restrictive voting laws this year. We know 18 states have passed 30 bills that are voter restriction bills. And check out this article here from TheHill.com. It's from July 27th also. One in every 3 states across the nation have passed new laws restricting access to the ballot in the wake of the 2020 election. In the wake of the 2020 election, a torrid pace that showcases the national battle over election reform. Now, voting rights experts and advocates say they have never seen such an explosion of election overhauls. Legislatures in 18 states have passed 30 bills that would in some way curtail a voter's access, according to a tally maintained by the Brennan Center for Justice at New York New York University, a voting rights advocacy organization. Now, Eliza Swan Becker, counsel to the Brennan Center's democracy program, said what's clear is that there is a wave of state laws that make it harder for Americans to vote, and in a really unprecedented manner. We haven't seen the volume of these bills at all in a year. We haven't seen the volume of these bills at all in a year. This is reflecting a real concerted effort in states across the country to make it harder for Americans to vote, to carve Americans out of the electorate rather than politicians trying to win over those votes. Okay, now, if we look here, we see that the overhauls vary widely. Now, 6 states have shortened the time period during which a voter can request a mail-in ballot. 4 states have limited the number or availability of mail ballot drop boxes. 7 states have given election administrators more leeway or new requirements in purging inactive voters from the rolls. 6 states have limited the help someone can offer a voter in returning their ballot. 6 states have limited the help someone can offer a voter in returning their ballot. Now, the measures have sharply divided 2 parties. Every new restriction has been passed in states where Republicans own total control of the legislature, the state legislature. All but 4 of the states where new restrictions have passed are also run by Republican governors, with the exception of Kentucky, Louisiana, Nevada, and Kansas. Okay, then they talk about Florida's Senate Bill 90, which limited voters' ability to get regular absentee ballots, limited an election administrator's authority to send absentee ballot applications. They talk about the restrictions there. They talk about Georgia's Senate Bill 202, also, which sparked loud protests that led Major League Baseball to move its annual All-Star game out of Atlanta. SB 202 shortened the window in which a voter could request an absentee ballot, restricted the sending of unsolicited absentee ballot applications, limited drop boxes, and added identification requirements, banned snacks and water to those waiting in line, being given to those waiting in line. You don't ask them who they're voting for or which party they belong to. You just offer food to people standing in line, or water, and limited the number of early voting days and hours. Okay, so read the rest of this one here. 1/3 of states have passed restrictive voting laws this year. It goes on to say on page 3 of the article, down towards the bottom, the electoral laws that have passed this year are not wholly restrictive. Half the states have passed 54 new laws that would expand voting access. In some of those cases, votes have been bipartisan, though some measures have included both restrictive and expansive provisions. Okay. 8 states have expanded early voting. Another 8 states have made registering to vote easier. 2 states, Maryland, where the legislature is controlled by Democrats, and New Hampshire, where the legislature is ran by Republicans, have eased voting restrictions for people serving jail sentences. Virginia state legislators passed several laws dealing with multiple provisions of the electoral process. So read this full article here from thehill.com. One third of states have passed restrictive voting laws this year. This is from July 27th, 2021 from thehill.com. All right, now, as I've said before, this issue dealing with voting rights cannot just be branded an African-American issue, because this affects African Americans, it affects Latinos, it affects Asian Americans, it affects white college students, it affects college students in general who are more likely to vote for Democrats and who face obstacles to voting when they vote out of state at the institution that they go to, the college they go to. It affects older people who may vote Democratic because they may vote by mail, okay, absentee ballots, etc. The other thing is, one group that's really impacted by this and is not talked about a lot is disabled Americans. There are 38 million disabled Americans who are registered voters. Okay, there are 38 million disabled Americans who are registered voters. New York Times had a piece dealing with this. I think Washington Post also. Washington Post had an article dealing with this in the last couple of months. But they are negatively impacted when you talk about having longer voting lines, limiting absentee ballots, different things like this. This negatively impacts disabled voters. In the 38 million of them, the 38 million disabled voters that registered to vote. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris, probably about 3 weeks ago now, met with a group of disabled voters because they were talking about the challenges in voting. So this this whole fight has to be expanded beyond an African-American issue. And this is what I've said before is, you see, when you talk about the 1965 Voting Rights Act, that automatically gets associated with African-Americans. Dr. King, John Lewis, okay, Jimmy Lee Jackson, all that, the whole crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the movie Selma, all that gets associated with African-Americans. But no, this impacts people regardless of race. Now, there was I want to see if I can find this exact. I'll see if I can find this exact article. But I want to go to this interview here that Roland Martin did with Reverend William Barber III on Tuesday. This is in Texas, which was the first day of their march. It's a 27-mile, 4-day march to draw attention to the need for the People Act. Launch a 4-day march for voting rights in Texas. Let's go to this clip.
Barber, of course, doing this right now here in Georgetown, Texas. Reverend Dr. William Barber, of course, co-convener, Repairs of the Breach, and also with the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Barber, glad to have you here. It is I was showing people with the fan. I told them, I said, I play golf in this. I'm used to this stuff, so I came prepared.
Yeah, it's hot in Texas, but it's also hot politically, brother. And I'm telling you, now Roland is the cause of all this junk. He wakes me up at night, Doc, we ought to do this, and we think about it. But in reality, isn't it ironic, Roland, that the same day we have the first hearing on the physical violent insurrection on January the 6th, we're here tonight preparing to march tomorrow to challenge the political insurrection and the policy insurrection that's going on all over this country, where these extremists who've hijacked the Republican Party And Democrats, some of them that joined them, want to hold on to the filibuster, want to block the true John Lewis bill, which is the For the People Act, all of the position, want to block the coming, because it's not been written yet, Voting Rights Restoration Act. And then earlier, they blocked a $15 minimum wage, impacting 32 million people, 40% of black people. And now they want to even hurt immigrants. Let me tell you, the people behind us, they are fired up, brother. We actually are being overrun. We had to stop accepting people for the march because of COVID. So what people are doing is they're going to march legs, and then we're going to the Capitol on Saturday. And this march is saying, like Selma did, we have to have federal action. And black folk are saying it, white people are saying it, brown, Asian, Native, poor people, even business people with a conscience, gay folk, all are saying, no. This is what we have to do in this moment. And then, lastly, it's a part of our season, a month long of actions. We were in Arizona yesterday, 27 states in almost 40 some odd Senate offices, Democrat and Republican. We had people sitting in demanding action. And then next Monday after Austin on Saturday, clergy and low-wage workers are coming to D.C. for direct action. We're not playing, brother. And if it doesn't happen by the 6th, we win if it does. If we don't, it intensifies.
I talked to Melanie Campbell. Black women, they're going to have another protest taking place on Thursday in the nation's capital. We're going to be live streaming that event as well. And Reverend Barber, the thing that I keep explaining to our audience is that for the people who say protest doesn't matter, these things don't work. Look, you just had Senator Mark Warner out of Virginia finally come out and say he believes in a narrow ending of the filibuster specifically for voting rights.
Yeah.
All of these things, the constant pressure, not just on those senators, but also on this White House to get President Biden moving, because the reality is Vice President Kamala Harris or Vice President Joe Biden should be in Texas, should have come to Texas. You got to go where the people are, where the problem is, as opposed to, giving nice speeches. No. You got to mobilize and organize your people.
Right. And you got to show in this moment, this is James Crow Esquire. It's not just Jim Crow. Don't let the Republicans get away with this being a binary issue, just black or white. It is race now. Don't ever suppress race. But the racial piece of it also has collateral damage. And then the other thing, I hope to meet with, I got a word about meeting with the vice presidents and some clergy next week. But here's the thing. We have to have federal action. We have to stand strong. If we go in compromising, you're going to get worse. You got to stand strong. Secondly, we've got to say, you're right, to the president, come to Texas and talk to this diverse group. Come to Arizona. Go to West Virginia. You got people that voted for you there. And then go to the well of the Congress, just like LBJ did, and say, you cannot fix physical infrastructure while you're letting people destroy the infrastructure of the democracy. It's both and, it's not either or. And we don't need to play the either or game. This is too serious. We need to have people come together. And then we got to connect the voting rights to economic justice and the economic prosperity of the country. My brother was just telling me from Methodist Church, I preached for him Sunday. And he said, Bob, we got to let these folk know. When we say pass voting rights, stop suppressing the vote, pass 15, he said, let them know. Those of y'all that are fighting 15, fight vote, don't you know that it's economically insane to do that? If we had 15 right now, 32 million people would be raised out of poverty. $380-some billion would be pumped into the economy right now. But because of the filibuster, you can't get passage on the voting rights, passage on the For the People's Act, or passage on 15, or even protecting our immigrant brothers and sisters. This is a moment, I call it a cosmic moment, that can have international impact. If we keep retrogressing, now I'm going to go Bible on you for your order. The Bible says only a dog returns to his vomit. Every time we go backwards, we go backwards, we go backwards, we go a little far and go backwards. The Bible says that's like a dog returning to vomit. We've got to stop to returning to the vomit of racism and suppression and economic injustice and decide to go forward to the good food and the good prosperity of justice for all people.
And the thing that what I keep telling the folks, the reason you have to link the voting issue with policy, because that's how you get policy.
Yeah.
If you lay out all the things that Republicans have blocked in this state,
right.
they're blocking in other states, what they're blocking in Washington, D.C., you cannot say, I want to march. But it's like I want to march on the issue, but then not realize public policy is involved. I said on my show last week, to every white person who was out in the streets demanding justice for George Floyd, where you at?
Got to come now.
You can't just last year.
Right.
Last year was last year.
That's right.
Now, where are you marching for the George Floyd Justice Act? Where are you marching for
climate,
right.
LGBTQ? You got to get in because, as you said, Roland. Voting is the bridge to progressive policies. So if you build bridges for infrastructure, but then you undermine the bridge of democracy, you cut off the bridge that gives us the public policy. And you got to recognize the same folk, for instance, in Texas, that wouldn't fix the utility grid are the same folk blocking voting rights. Same folk that block living wage, block health care, blocking voting rights. Make the connect. Same people that come after the LGBT community are the same people that are going after voting. 56 million people in the last election used the kind of voting laws they are trying to take away from. I don't know if people get that. We're not talking about folk trying to block new laws. They're trying to retrogress what's already on the books. And that ought to be disturbing to all of us. So we need and I like what you said about Melanie. We ain't got to all be under the same banner. This needs to be a movement. Get into battle.
Right.
You ain't got to get permission.
You have folks here in Georgetown are going to be marching to Austin, taking place on Saturday. You got the black women who are doing their thing, the mass action in Thursday. You should have groups in West Virginia doing their thing. You should have people in Arizona doing their thing. You should have people in Connecticut saying to Chris Coons, people in Delaware doing their thing. It's not about getting permission. I've been saying all different groups who went to the White House, NAACP, Derek Johnson, same thing. How you taking your chapters? Mark Boreal, National Urban League. How you taking your chapters? Reverend Sharpton, National Action Network. How you taking your chapters? You don't have to. If you all of a sudden every day they're seeing here and here and here and here, the same thing Black Lives Matter did.
Right.
When you had folks who weren't even affiliated with the people who created Black Lives Matter. Right. But they said we can do something ourselves.
And the difference this time is this, for instance, if you're white or otherwise, you don't have to be altruistic. This is not about you helping black folk. They're going to take your democracy.
Right. That was a county clerk in 2012 who admitted that she moved an early voting location off of a college campus.
Exactly.
They were voting. Too many of the old young folks, white folks, were voting Democrat.
That's right.
Moved it to a way out place with a small parking lot, hard to get to. They moved from early voting locations in North Carolina. I was on the CBC panel, and it was Shirley Iafo, Christian Clark, Vanita Gupta, the guy who was the Secretary of State in California. I said, y'all have got to challenge white folks to say, hey, this ain't just us. They don't like tech here in Texas. I'm still registered here. They are mad. They've been getting their butts kicked in the suburbs.
That's right.
Because Georgetown, folks, everybody who's watching, Georgetown is a suburb of Austin. Austin is Travis County. This is Williamson County. In Houston, it's Harris County. Dallas County. San Antonio, Bear County. They've been losing.
That's right.
In the suburbs. That's what they're trying to stop.
Even though in Georgetown 30 years ago, in the 1930s, the first successful case against the Ku Klux Klan happened in Georgetown when a white woman stood up. So my point is we need everybody, brother. And what I'd like to do, I hope we can do it as the march goes on. I want to come on one evening and you and I just read the For the People's Act. Because I think most of our people don't know.
Right.
And I'm going to say this to all groups, civil rights. Don't you go in those places and compromise with Manchin and let him say, well, I'll support the Voting Rights Act, but I'm not for it. And you say, well,
John Lewis Act.
Yeah. The hell with that. Because first of all, ain't no John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It hadn't been written. That's the truth. Second of all, the John Lewis Act is the act, the For the People's Act. He wrote that.
Right.
Okay. Thirdly, the Voting Rights Act won't fix this because these bills are passed. You cannot retrogressively pre-clear. Secondly, thirdly, fourthly, if you pass the For the People's Act, everything they're doing in these state colleges becomes illegal immediately. Mm-hmm. So we don't need no. And plus, he signed to say he would support the For the People's Act. Joe Manchin signed it, but he signed it when McConnell was majority leader. because he knew it wouldn't come to the floor. He ran on it in his state. So did Kristen. I'm going to tell it all. I'm sorry. Kristen Sinema said she would support it when she was running. She said she would support 15. Manchin never said he was against 15 while he was running, because he knew if he'd have said it in the primaries, the Democratic challengers would have whooped him. He waited until afterwards. And after Warnock and our brother from
John Ossoff
won, running on For the People's Act, running on voting rights, running on liberty. He waited until they got a majority, and then all of a sudden, now he's not for it. Don't let these folks play game, and don't go in a room and cut a deal. That, well, we won the voting rights Act. If we don't win this For the People's Act right now, every bill that goes in place, you won't be able to undo it. You can't litigate out of this. You can't mobilize.
I mean, because it is going to have, look, what they're doing by trying to cut drastically the drop box ballot.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do with matching signatures. I mean, they are, and the ability to be able to overturn election results. This is by design. This is all about Donald Trump complaining about losing, even in the state that he won. They are trying, and what I also keep trying to tell people, this is not about presidential politics. This impacts every single election, school board, city council, county commissioner, state rep, state senate, governors, all of these races, water district. If it's the elected DA as well, that's why people have to recognize we ain't playing games with this.
And it's about fundamental, as you say all the time, power. These folk are wanting blatant power. They see the demographic shifting. They know the South is really not red. It's suppressed and unorganized. They know that, and many of these other places. So they see the demographics shifting. They want to control the power. And lastly, this is about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Why is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce celebrating Manchin and Sinema and the Republicans? Because they don't want expanded votes, because they know that undercuts their ability to control elected officials that can then pass tax policies and other policies that fill their pockets. And so if you're in an organization, and even if you had conversations with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, you got to cut ties. You got to cut ties. Because either you're on the side of, you're going to treat corporations like people and people like things, or people like people and corporations like things. That's why for instance, Jeff Bezos did something last year. I'm going to tell on him. On July 1st, he said, I'm going to give $10 million to a certain social justice organization, which is no money for him. On the next day, the 3rd of July, he cut all of the pay for his workers, the pay that they were getting because of COVID. We cannot let the corporate interests have more power than the power of people. 80% of Americans want this. Do you know in that For the People's Act, it says a president must show his tax returns? And so we know. It says that early voting, same-day registration are all law. It says that you cannot change a precinct without giving 7 days. No, that's just, we're going to talk through it.
Right.
But the point is, brothers and sisters, this is not a time for capitulation. And any compromise in this moment is capitulation and allowing the forces that win that have no concern for us. Lastly, if you're going to do infrastructure, do what Lyndon Baines Johnson did. He used to tell folks, you don't vote with me, you don't get no money.
Right.
You don't vote for me, you don't get no money. And people are saying, well, if we just get this now, we get this later. We're going to be in the midterm soon.
And here's the old deal. Biden, you ain't getting Republican votes.
No.
Okay, this whole deal, I think I can pick up, this Democrats been trying to get that Republican suburban white woman for the last umpteen elections. You ain't getting them. What you can turn out, you could turn out more black people, more Latinos, more young people. You can turn out
and
more women.
Folk.
And
because 55% of poor and low-wealth people voted for Biden Harris. That never happened before. But it's because he said living wage 15. And see, there's a shifting happening, but the politics is rooted in this is not the Eric Derrickerson Republican that came over with Lyndon Baines Johnson, who Lyndon Baines gave the first pen when he signed the Voting Rights Act. No, this is an extremist group of folk that have hijacked the Republican Party. They are trying to put the hopes and dreams of the Southern strategy into law. This is a political insurrection. January 6th was this is the insurrection.
Right.
Politically. And they are weaponizing policy.
They couldn't get what they wanted on January 6th.
Exactly.
So then they're doing this.
And they're weaponizing the filibuster like never before. And everybody in this democracy better stand up and stand up. In fact, Reverend Jackson and I and some others I was talking to, a lot of people today, they said, you know what? We ought to support whatever happens on the 28th. And then we ought to say, but if you can't get there, every state, you need to be marching on your capital.
Yeah. In fact, I have long said, y'all, I appreciate August 28th. I said, but if you mobilize in multiple states, you're going to have more people participate.
I told folks I'm supporting everybody trying to do right. But I do know in 1963, see, I was born 2 days after March on Washington. My dad used to tell me the story because they said I was supposed to be born on the 28th. My mama went into labor, and I said, hold up. Let's see what happened. And my daddy said, I went to the other marches. He didn't go to 28 because he was waiting for me. But he always reminded me, Bob, Billy, that's what he called me, Billy. Don't y'all call me that. That's what he called me, Billy. He said, listen, nobody came to March on Washington to hear Dr. King speak. That wasn't the purpose.
Right.
They were mobilized, and Dr. King said, go back to Alabama, go back to Mississippi. But he said also why it happened, because it was between Birmingham activism, Mississippi activism, then Freedom Summer followed. But on that day, that week, there were more than 200 actions in 200 cities. Lawson, who was one of King's main supporters, was in jail. He was in jail in Louisiana. Jesse was in jail in Greensboro. That's what was happening. Diane Nash was in Selma planning. So, Lord, y'all, it's not all of us coming under one banner.
Right.
I support everybody that's doing everything, but we got to do a whole lot of a lot to push what needs to happen in this moment.
All right, Reverend Dr. William Barber, we appreciate it. We're going to be live streaming the march. It's taking place beginning at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So as they walk in, we'll be live streaming. Come on, you can come around.
All right. Okay, so that was Reverend William Barber III on Roland Martin Unfiltered, being interviewed by Roland Martin. I'm going to post the link here to that interview. That's on YouTube. Roland's YouTube channel, Roland S. Martin on YouTube. So you can check that out. Very good interview, a lot of history. And I said before, I said a few weeks ago when I was on Roland's show, I said, if it's just African Americans involved in this fight for the For the People Act, we're going to lose. This impacts people regardless of race, ethnicity. This impacts college students, and this impacts women. Okay, and I've said before, we're the women's groups. We're the when you had the women's march. Remember when Donald Trump won in 2016, and then the next day after the 2016 election, and you had people protesting out in the streets and everything all across the country. Then you had the day after I think it was the day after the January 20th inauguration. So that'd be January 20th, 2017. The day after, you had the women's march all across the country and all this. Where all the white women that were protesting that Trump won? And then the white women who were out protesting when George Floyd was killed in summer of 2020. Were the white progressives? Were the white feminists? Where all the Me Too people? All the Me Too women who just a few weeks ago they were screaming about Bill Cosby was released from prison. Well, this impacts voting for prosecutors, mayors, city council, sheriffs, governor. This is not just about voting for president. So we're all those groups. I showed this article here from the Washington Post that deals with how the community that may be hurt the most by Republican voter restrictions, Americans with disabilities. This is from the Washington Post, opinion piece from the Washington Post. Nation.com has an article about this as well. This is from July 13, 2021 by Katrina Vanden Heuvel. And then the article, it talks about how, where is that? 38 million. with more than, it may seem incomprehensible that such legislation could be a deliberate attempt to marginalize the disabled community, but it's hard to assume good faith, especially after one GOP legislator openly admitted that he thinks everybody should not be voting. And with more than 38 million people with disabilities eligible to vote, this is a formidable bloc with the power to influence election outcomes. Intentional or not, these bills threaten a movement that's been building for decades and puts the rights of Americans with disabilities on the line. So people of all different races have disabilities. How many African Americans they get SSI checks? That's disabilities. That many of them have disabilities. I mean those people get disability checks each month. Various types of disabilities. Okay, but they're going to be negatively impacted by this as well. So check out that article. This is the one from Sybil Wilkes. What you need to know. This is at sybilwilkes.com/news. This is at sybilwilkes.com, WILKES/news. Activists march for passage of voting laws and end to filibuster. Activists march for passage of voting laws and end to filibuster. July 27th, 2021. It talks about this 27-mile march, and it has in here what they're fighting for as well. So check that out. All right. Okay, be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Be sure to register for the 10-week online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. That's the first one, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That's the first online course that I teach. It's a 10-week online course. We deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. That class is on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 10-week online course. As soon as you register, you can watch this archive content that you can watch, and you'll be ready for class on Sunday. And then we deal with ancient Africa, and we deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. So that class is $80. Click on register here, and you can enroll on the next page. The new 10-week online course that I teach, and this picks up where Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade leaves off, is from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power. This is a 10-week online course. Each week we'll go through and analyze a 10-year period of history to understand what happened after the Civil War ended, after the 13th Amendment was ratified, December 6, 1865. This Saturday. So this class meets Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As soon as you register, you can watch class number 1. We just did that class this past Saturday. Click right here on register here. Takes you to the next page. Click on enroll. So we talked about 40 Acres and a Mule, Special Field Order number 15. We dealt with what led up to the Civil War taking place and why the Civil War was fought. I also talked about the New York City draft riots that lasted 5 days in New York City. You had hundreds of people who were killed. You had African Americans who were attacked. These New York City draft riots, July 13th, 1863. We also talked some about the 13th Amendment. Next class, we're going to go through and look at the Reconstruction era. We'll look at 1865 to 1877, what happened during Reconstruction, the progress we were making, and how that's going to come to an end with the Compromise of 1877. Okay, so on the next page, just click on enroll, and you can register for the class. As soon as you register, there's bonus content that you can start watching. You can watch from around the world. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. All right. Okay. And then all of my DVD lectures and digital downloads are at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world, bringing our people together worldwide, controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30-plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world, bringing our people together worldwide, controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30-plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting, LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El-Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid El-Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Digital Dandelion's Technical Solutions works with businesses like yours to create an operations manual for your business, which is something many businesses don't have. According to AARP, more than 30% of small business owners are over 50 years old. Many business owners want to retire by selling their businesses or by passing their businesses on to their children. However, according to Forbes Investment Advisors, many retiring owners' attempts to sell their businesses for retirement fail. You cannot sell your business without a business manual. Your children also cannot inherit your business because there is no way to run it. Your business does not have to die when you leave. Their business Bible products will give you the tools you need for a thriving business that can make you money even after you retire. Are you looking at increasing your business's